September 23 up to September 30. The whole span of 8 days, as we always do. 8 days from last Sunday up to next Sunday. Essentially, this is last Sunday's gospel. Now, this was the gospel reading. This was the gospel reading last Sunday. Mark 9:32-37. Jesus is Messiah and Lord. That's the bottom line. Jesus is Messiah and Lord. It's quite strange and very absurd. From the human standpoint, it's very absurd because the power reaches perfection in weakness. It's not natural human thinking, because in human thinking it's more on you gotta be strong, right? The U.S. is feared. The United States as a country is feared by other nations because of strength, because of the U.S. military strength. Because that's the natural human thinking, but not Jesus. Jesus reaches its perfection, power, in weakness. And he reigns from the cross. The cross is right there too. He reigns from the cross. What kind of power is that, reigning from the cross? So later I will show you how this came about. Now look what Jesus does. If you look at Mark chapter 9, this is where Jesus asked, who do people say that I am? Remember that from last Sunday? Who do people say that I am? Some people say, and this and that. Well, what about you? Who do you say that I am? So he turned to the 12 apostles and asked them the same question and threw the question to them. If you look at Jesus, from the cross, he chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. Imagine that. He also chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He also chooses the lowly things of this world and the despised things. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. The Blessed Mother is no exception. Look at the Blessed Mother. Who does the Blessed Mother normally appear before? Look at Fatima. Who did she appear before? Those 3 peasant children out of Fatima, in Portugal. Who did the Blessed Mother appear before in Lourdes? A very lowly, asthmatic, very sickly Saint Bernadette. Someone who didn't even go to school. Can you imagine that? The lowly, the despised, the weak things. John the Baptist is no exception. Jesus chose John the Baptist to be his precursor, to pave the way for the Messiah who was coming. And you remember one of the words of Herod to John the Baptist when he saw John the Baptist first. Herod looked at John the Baptist and saw his appearance. His clothes was what? What was he wearing? Some animal skin. He was wearing some animal skin with a piece of rubber tied around his waist, and he was eating locusts, right? He was eating locusts. And he was wandering in the desert. That's how he calls himself. Who are you? He says, I'm the voice crying out of the wilderness, right? Wilderness meaning desert. So Herod said, whatever profession you're engaged in, it doesn't seem profitable. In the path train, I noticed that there's a man. He's not exactly homeless. He's got good sneakers, clean sneakers, white sneakers, blue jeans. He had a radio. He would play the radio and then he would do some rap. But he was actually begging money. Did anyone see him? Yeah. So yeah. He frequents the PAT train between World Trade and I believe Journal Square or maybe Harrison. But that's what he does. See how people think. So people look, Herod is no exception. He looked at John the Baptist. Whatever business you're engaged in, is not profitable. Look at yourself. You can't afford expensive clothes. That's how you and I are, right? Like when I see Lourdes, when I look at Lourdes, I know she is a wealthy person by her clothes, by her appearance. She is a well-off person. Same thing with Carmen. Have you seen Carmen on Sundays? At her Sunday best? She looks like a movie star. Look at me on Sunday, like a homeless person. That's you and I are. We look at a person and we judge right away. That's not Jesus. That's not Jesus. Is that clear? Because Jesus actually chooses these. Look, I'm not a deacon. I'm not a priest. Can I say, Jesus chose me, a foolish person, to the world, as long as I stick to the Bible and the Catechism? I have the potential of shaming the wise, those PhDs, because God can still use me even if I'm foolish. Correct? Yes? Yes, I'm foolish, or yes, God can use me. Whichever way, it's okay. So, God also chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. What does this, in one word, what can you say about these three choices? What can you say about these three choices? In one word.
Child.
Love. But he loves everyone. Humility. That's humility. In other words, even Matthew chapter 5 and Luke chapter 6, the Beatitudes, blessed are the poor, blessed are those who mourn. Remember? The lowly, the despised, those are the ones who are blessed. That's what God chooses. And so, my task for you tonight, as my parting lesson for our dear sister, St. Anne, is our journey to the cross. Our journey to the cross. How do we approach the cross? Any idea?
First you have to take it up.
Take up the cross. So we approach the cross. Okay. Very good. When we, on our journey to the cross, we all begin with, remember, I'm talking about this. Mark chapter 9. We begin with confusion. Why confusion? Who do people say that I am? Some people say you are this, some people you are this, some people you are that. There's absolute confusion. And what about you? Who do you say that I am? There's confusion. They couldn't say who he was. And John the Baptist was no exception. He was really a precursor. John the Baptist is the last Old Testament prophet and became the bridge into the New Testament. So he was the last Old Testament prophet and the first New Testament prophet. That's John the Baptist. And remember, Herod sent people to John the Baptist to ask him just exactly who he was. Remember that? But we have to report something. Who are you? Are you Elijah? No. Are you this? Are you that? No. Who are you really? We need something to report back to Herod. So what are we going to tell him? So he says, I'm the voice crying out in the wilderness, setting the way for the Messiah. I am not the Messiah. Are you the Messiah? No, I'm not. I'm not even fit to untie the sandals with the lace-free sandals. See? Who can be more humble than John the Baptist? So there's absolute confusion to begin with. What about you? Do you know exactly who Jesus is to you? Is there any confusion in your mind who Jesus is? Any confusion? Who is Jesus to you? Jesus is a man whose first name begins with J. Well, in English, in Hebrew it's Y. In Arabic it's I. Still Jesus. Yeshua. Jesus is actually a variation of Joshua. Did you know that? Joshua and Jesus. There are variations of the same name. No confusion. You know exactly who Jesus is. It's okay, you can open up. No confusion. Number 2 is committing. Who's committing me? So what Jesus did, because there were many answers to this question, who do people say that I am? So he turned to the 12. The 12 now is a committee. So as a committee, as a body, Jesus asked the committee, what about you? Who do you say that I am? Remember in Congress they have committees, the budget committee, the appropriations committee. They have all kinds of committees in Congress. And that's the same thing that Jesus did. He turned the 12 into a committee. Who do you say that I am? As a committee. And who spoke? Of course, Peter did. Here's what Peter said. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, the Lord, right? So number 3 is confession. So this is actually the 12. The 12 apostles. Right answers. The confession was Peter's. Remember Matthew 16? This is Matthew. Whose sins you let loose will be loosed in heaven. Whose sins you forgive are forgiven in heaven. And then there was clarification. how did Jesus clarify it? He said, the Son of Man will suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests and the scribes. And he'll be killed, and after 3 days, will rise again. So, this is Jesus.